Well, I'm sitting inside the first truck and then picking up with this big container forklift because of course I have no ramps. And I have to drop my camera. Jesus. This is the machine that picked up the front of that truck. And I was driving them off. It was a bit scary, but see the dock is behind me. It's a bit tall. It's a regular flatbed dock. But now the truck is inside and the matter is off my hands. For the day. And the outside of my truck looks like this. It's been raining whole day. I'm about 20 miles north of Halifax, Nova Scotia. It's still warm, 74 Fahrenheit, or what is it, 23 Celsius. But it's raining like crazy. Oh, by the way, I forgot my mirrors are heated mirrors are on. I can lose my battery. And it's a very small truck stop. It's called Irving. And Irving is a popular brand in eastern Canada. You know, Quebec, Nova Scotia, you know, New Brunswick, stuff like that. And basically, it was a big adventure. You know, I only had 270 kilometers left for today, but I overslept, and then I got hungry. You know, I stopped for lunch. All of a sudden, I started getting text messages like saying, "Are you gonna be in the port before 2 o'clock?" Like, what the heck? I thought the agent told me everything was fine as long as I delivered before 4 p.m. Now, without telling me anything, they set up an appointment for 2 o'clock. So I started driving like crazy. Thanks God, you know, the speed limit here is 110 k an hour, or 68 miles per hour. But there are scales everywhere. They pulled me out of traffic. You know, you go over those plates on the road and they check your weight, and I was, you know, 30,000 pound load, but still, you know, they can see that I'm loaded, and they pull me in. Once they turn me into the parking lot, bring your paperwork. I thought I'd be stuck there forever, but the guy just wrote down my, you know, registration, my driver license number. He said just dock my hazmat certificate. But anyway, so I'm there on time, 1:30, and this GPS sends me through downtown Halifax. I'm driving like on tiny streets because the seaport, the commercial port, is right next to the actual seaport where leisure ships, you know, cruise ships arrive. And I see there's like a big, what do you call it, like a big station, you know, like a terminal for passengers. Crazy. Anyway, so I find that thing, and I check in at the gate. They gave me a pass, and the guy says, okay, turn around the building, park there, a checker will be along shortly. I said, who's the checker? Oh, it's someone who checks the vehicles when they arrive. It's basically someone who deals with the paperwork. They sign everything. And then the guy says this curious phrase. He says, do not unload your vehicles before the checker checks them. I said, with all due respect, sir, could you please look at my trailer? And the guy like, okay. I said, it's a step deck trailer. It's 40 inches off the ground. Right, so how do you expect me to offload by myself? I need a dock? Or I said, and I've been thinking about this, I thought they would have a problem with the front truck, right? Because we put the front axle on the upper deck. I didn't tell anything to the customer because I didn't want to lose this load, right? But I don't have any ramps. So the guys over there, they use their like homemade ramps. Yeah, but I was hoping that because this is a container terminal port, they would have something, right? So I'm telling this guy, I need a dock and I need a crane for the first one. And the guy looks at me and he says, well, I don't think we have that here. And I look towards the sea where the ships are parked, so to speak, or what's the word? Anchored, moored. Where the ships are moored, and I see these huge cranes. Like, what the heck, what are you talking about? There's like a huge crane, you know, that picks up containers. So I can probably drive under one of those. So all they need to do is just pick up, like last time when I was in Oregon, I actually saw how they were, remember that video I did, what was it, Washington, Oregon, or Vancouver, Oregon. or Vancouver, Washington, I forgot, but where I was delivering those big spools of pipe, and I was shooting a video how they were loading Australian Western Stars, and I still remember they were loading them with a crane. They just picked up the vehicles from the road and put them in the, you know, inside the loading bay on the ship. So I asked this guy, I said, isn't that how you load them? Like, what's the big deal? Just, and the guy says, no, we don't use cranes for that. We just put these vehicles on basically kind of like an open container, basically a trailer. You know, they put it on a trailer, secure it, and then just drive that trailer inside the ship. Scotia. Go figure. Anyway, the guy says, yeah, I don't think you're going to be unloaded today. I said, oh, really? I said, I have a 2 o'clock appointment. So anyway, so I go behind the building house as instructed, park the truck, and right away, as soon as I park, a pretty girl shows up in a pickup truck. So that's the checker. You know, I never heard this term before, checker. Like, sounds like someone who plays checkers, you know, but she says, she rolls down the window, what do you got? And it's raining. Like, can I see your paperwork? And I'm like, you know, I start passing the paperwork, it's all wet. Basically, over the course of the next 10 minutes, I had 3 checkers show up, and each one asks me the same questions. You know, I said, wait a second, I just talked to the girl, and this guy, the last guy, he was something was wrong with his hearing. He wasn't that old, but anything you say to him, he replies, what? And then, by the time I finished unloading, you know, when I forgot myself and I would address this guy and I say, you know, you want me to turn the wheel? And the guy, what? I said, forget it. And I would address his assistant. There was a girl there, like a driver, who, you know, they wanted me to drive those trucks, right? Basically, this deaf guy, semi-deaf, directed me to a dock. And this was a very tall dock, like a regular flatbed dock, not 40 inches, you know. So they started putting all kinds of timbers, and the guy said, okay, take your chains off and drive it on the dock. I said, who, me? Well, you're the driver. I said, well, my job was to secure these things. I didn't load them, right? My job was to deliver. So 1,300 miles or 1,350 from Virginia to here, my job is done. So it's yours, guys. Or you pay me 10 bucks. And so they started laughing. Well, we all laughing. Okay, I jump in the truck, but it's a bit scary, especially when the dock is almost 1 foot high. You have to go over some, you know, scary loose boards. And well, I did it, but one curious thing that happened is that when the wheels started spinning, I had to add gas at some point. You know, with the first truck, there was and I had to back. You know, so I stick my head out the window. I was watching the front wheel, afraid that the truck will fall off. You know. But there were people everywhere, you know. They direct me, you know, tell, oh, turn your wheel a little bit this way, you're good, okay, you know, give it gas, you know. So it was okay, it was safe, but still a bit scary. And then the wheel started spinning. I didn't push gas hard enough. It wouldn't roll on the high dock. And then I went to see, and I noticed that one of the bolts that was holding that stupid elevator belt just popped right through that belt, and so the belt was all screwed up. So yeah, that rubber, you see, that's what happens. Like the guys that left comments earlier were right. So this rubber is not gonna last long. So like one occasion, how long did I have it? I don't know, 2 weeks? And no, what, not 2 weeks, maybe a month, right? And already it's almost off. Like on the rear, it's gonna be flapping in the wind if I don't take it off. So I need to take it off now. And that's what we did. So I drove off the rear one, so backing on the dock, and then the first one, I was curious what they would do. So they brought this, the one you saw in the video, a huge container forklift, the one that can pick up a 40-foot container. It had this big attachment, and what they did, they loaded this monster came over and they lowered that frame, and they just attached to one side. Can you imagine? They didn't even center it. They just attached both straps to one side of this thing, you know, like this. If this is the truck, right, the frame sits like this, you would think that they, you know, they would be scared of the weight and they would put a strap like one here, one here. No, they put them all on one side because the truck was only 15,000 pounds, right? And the plan was, so they lifted the front, and and I'm driving again, you know. I said, are you crazy? I'm not getting in there. Well, we're not getting in either. Okay, I said, okay, 10 bucks. Well, they didn't give me 10 bucks, but you know, I'm feeling the truck go up, so the guy lifts the front, and the guy on the ground says, start driving. So what? So I was, while the forklift pick up the front, so you know, the drive wheels are rear wheels, right? So they were still on the deck. So I started driving slightly, and I look out the window, and the truck goes this way, you know, because it's in the air, right? But I got scared. I'm yelling to the guy, I say, hey, the truck going left. And he says, don't worry about it, it's the forklift. So then the forklift corrects a little bit, and he's turning his wheels, and then the truck starts going this way. And there was one guy on the one side, one guy on the other side. So, and then as soon as we cleared that upper deck, you know, they shouted to the forklift to, and he just dropped down the front, and I was able just to back over the dock. You know, this way it was easier. So this was like, you know, quite an adventure. And then I couldn't find, you know, after I left there, I couldn't find any parking. I asked the guys at the terminal, you know, this is basically downtown Halifax, right? I said, is there any way I can park? You know, any, I don't know, Walmart, any truck stop? And they couldn't help me, you know. So I just punched in, I opened my GPS, and I have home pre-programmed in there, which is my parking lot in Cambridge, Ontario. So I just hit home, because I wanted to get out of Halifax, you know, just go north on 102. And the GPS shows distance to home 1,950 kilometers. Basically almost 2,000 kilometers, which is what, like 1,200 miles? So no way I'm driving home empty. And then this guy called me. He's a Russian driver. He works for, he's out of Quebec. And we used to work for McKinnon together, and then he drives for a small company, just pulling a drive-in. And sometimes we chat over the phone, and he called me, and I asked him about this because he's from Quebec, right? He knows these Irving locations. So I said, do you know where the nearest Irving here is? I found one at exit 13 on 102, but that's like 100 kilometers away from Halifax. I said, I don't want to go that far because my customer, like the agent, he's texting me, please send the paperwork, you know. And it's Friday, end of the day, and I didn't have a load, so I wanted to shut down somewhere, you know, as soon as possible and start looking for a load, even which was more important than sending paperwork to the agent. And he says, yeah, exit 13, but then he says, wait a second, he had that directory. Oh, that reminds me, I have to go inside. He says, most Irving truck stops, they have that little directory with the locations of Irving truck stops. And this guy had it, and he says, oh, there's a small one at exit 7. And I said, oh, I'm passing exit 5. And here on this highway, exits are not miles or kilometers, they just, you know, arbitrary. So I think one exit is like 10 kilometers, like 6 miles. And so yeah, I found this one, found a place to park, went inside, got coffee, sent all the paperwork to the agent. Everybody's happy, so load delivered, no damage. And then I started looking for, and then I sent the paperwork to Landstar, like separately, right, through our direct scan thing, through my scanner. And then I started looking for a load, and there's one on Prince Edward Island, but you have to go, it's like 200 miles, well, not bad, but you have to go across that Confederation Bridge, 50 bucks. One way, then 50 bucks back, and the load paid only $2.15 per mile gross to Landstar on 2,000 miles, and it goes to Mississippi, which is a great location for us because I know out of there I can always find a load back to Ontario, except that it's too cheap. And I look on Google Maps, it goes exactly the same way I came here, through New York City. You have to go through Maine, Connecticut, you know, it's all crazy traffic, lots of tolls. So I called them up and found how much the bridge toll was, and I decided not to do it. So now I'm just booking another load, which is actually a good thing, and then it's a bad thing because I wanted to go to this Mazda event on 22nd of September in Oshawa. If you guys remember, I did a video about this, right? There's a kind of like a charity event where Mazda owners, you know, pay 20 bucks. It goes to charity, and then we all gather together on the airport to make that zoom thing, and they take a picture, like a shape made with cars. Now I cannot do it because I'm booking a load from Quebec going to Houston, Texas. But I need to make some money, you know. I cannot drive 1,200 miles home empty. So instead I'm gonna drive 700 miles to Quebec because this one, you know, pays a lot of money, and this load requires a 3-axle step deck. It's 57,000 pounds. Some kind of piece of metal, 10 by 7 by 6, 10 feet long, 7 wide, 6 tall, or 7 tall or something. And they want it tarped, but I have one piece of tarp that's going to cover it, and it pays pretty well. So it goes to Houston, and then I guess from there I'll try to find a load to maybe Manitoba. I'm not going to Alberta, but Saskatchewan or Manitoba I can do. So more miles on the way, more money, more fun, more movies. Thanks for watching. Sorry.